State's offense present?
I think what Oregon State does on offense that's really pretty unique is they do a lot of everything. So they run some power game, they run some spread option, they run the quick passing game, they run the max protect vertical passing game, then they run the fly sweep. So there's a lot of different plays you have to defend, and I think that's the biggest thing. You have to be sound with your alignment, sound with your leverages, and then do a good job of tackling.
When you're playing a team that's kind of just desperate to get a win, do you have to plan for just they're going to win it at all, try and win at all costs? What kind of trickery they're going to throw at us? What kind of random things are they going to throw at your defense?
We're going to prepare this the way we've been preparing. Every game we've been in, there's been a ton of tricks. I mean, a lot of times from the outside, you don't notice the tricks because if they don't work, you don't see the big result. But we've been defending a ton of different types of tricks and misdirections and deception. And we're anticipating some in this game, but we prepared the same way. How do you prepare for that? Well, you need to have great leverage. You have to have your eyes in the right spot, and you definitely have to do your responsibility. And those are the things that we have been emphasizing this week.
You mentioned after the game the other day that you're using about a third of the playbook on defense. You have so many years coaching. Has this big year taught you anything different? You've really had to simplify the defense and really had to kind of change some things up. Has this year been a teaching year for you in any way?
Every year as a coach, as a player, is a learning year, and every season brings a different experience and different challenges, and this has been a different one than we've had the previous year. But at the same time, what it forces you to do to really evaluate yourself and your players and your system, and really blend those things together, and that's what we've been doing. The thing that we pride ourselves in here at Oregon is to be great teachers. And as a great teacher, you have to evaluate, and you have to then instruct, and that's what we've been doing. And so that's been our lives here. That's what we pride ourselves, and that's what Coach Helfrich preaches, and that's what we've been doing. And if we do that correctly, we should continue to make progress, and that's what we've been striving for.
I guess on that note, then, how as a coach, how satisfying can it be to see a team turn around from a 3-3 start and now potentially finish on a 6-game winning streak? Just kind of making those adjustments that you're teaching them.
It's really gratifying to see our guys make progress, to continue to make progress. And we haven't played a complete game yet. We'd love to play a complete game, but every game we've made strides. And at the end of the day, whether it's coaching or whether it's your family, whether it's your kid, it's the same thing. You want to see progress every day, and that's where we find our joy.
How has Tyson Coleman improved for you, not only over his career, but especially this year, and made a big difference for you?
A couple of years ago, Tyson started to really mature, and this last year, he's matured immensely. And from the standpoint of not only just school-wise and this is off the field, but just on the field, he's, Rodney and Joe and all those guys are really in tune, but Tyson's right there with those guys. He's making checks, he's seeing things, he's playing multiple positions, and all the things we hoped for Tyson. This year are all playing out. He's having a fantastic season. He's putting himself in a position to try to chase the NFL dream, and he's ready for it. So we're really happy.
You say all things you've hoped for. Has it maybe exceeded expectations in a way?
No, it's tough as a player to exceed coach's expectation because their vision of their abilities here in our, said different. They think they have a vision of their ability, but we actually see it. And we always want more, and so they're never going to exceed the expectations. But it's nice to see when they're starting to stride, and you can see those big strides happen. It's like, hey, he's getting up there, and that's what Tyson's been doing.
Tyson's a guy with Rodney, Defoe, and Ducci that's going to have started every game. You've been the defensive coordinator the last couple years. Can you put a value on that level of experience and kind of how much it helps you do your job?
What's enabled us to be successful? The good days, the bad days, but enable us to be successful and continue to move forward. The last 2 years have been those stable guys, the Defoe, the Tysons, the Balducci's, the Rodneys, those guys that have continued to be here. And when things weren't good, they stayed the course. When things were great, they stayed the course. The leadership they provided is invaluable, and obviously we would love to see those guys go out and finish this season with a bang.
People who follow Oregon know that Buckner's an All-American caliber player, but are you worried that maybe the slow start to the season he might get lost in the shuffle nationally with the recognition?
When you have a player like DeForest, when you have a great player, a dominating player, the pro scouts, when they put the film on, they'll find him.
Yeah.
Right? So there's no concern. everyone knows who Defo is. Yes.
Can you kind of explain, though, to just people around the country how he's played this year at the college level?
Defo is been very consistent from start to finish. He's made plays. Even when we were doing a lot more things, he was successful. When we trimmed things down and went to just 1 or 2 packages, he's been successful. The things he's doing on film, I think, that really will aid him at the next level is he's pass rushing better. He's beating one-on-one blocks. He's splitting double teams, and then he's flipping his hips and closing on the quarterback. And those are the things that those NFL guys like to look at. Yeah.
Yesterday, Mark talked about senior day, and every year it's the same, celebratory routine, but every senior class and every year has its own sort of thumbprint, and it has its own unique feeling, and he still goes through that emotion of pride and appreciation and bittersweet that these guys are leaving. What is senior day like for you? And you've been through so many of them, but what is the same and what is different from every year?
When I look at senior day, senior day is not a single event for me. What we do is we celebrate our seniors every day, year round. So, when these guys, when their season started in January as the seniors, we bring them in, we talk to them, we put them in front of defensively, put them in front of the defense, and we tell everyone we don't just single them out on the last game. We single them out every day. So every decision made defensively, those guys are making. If I have a question, if there's a question of how we want to play something, and some of the kids like this, something like that, seniors, how are we going to do this? And so those guys are set apart from everyone year round. The last game is always kind of emotional because it's the last game, but this is not the last game. And so we will get emotional the last game. This game is the next game.